Have you ever wondered why the more you try to quiet your mind, the louder it gets? Ever noticed how inner silence seems to slip away right when you need it the most? In this video, we're going to face one of the biggest paradoxes of spiritual awakening head-on. You don't achieve thoughtless awareness. It reveals itself, and the path to it begins where effort ends. Believe it, quieting the mind isn't about stopping your thoughts. It's about no longer identifying with the thinker. Are you ready to see the ego lose the mic? Have you noticed how the spiritual journey often turns into a mental race? It's almost ironic. We're chasing peace by studying more, meditating more, trying to figure everything out. And without realizing it, the ego, that tireless narrator, disguises itself as the seeker and grabs the wheel. But what if what you're looking for is already here with you right now? What if, in trying so hard to silence the mind, we're just strengthening the trap of automatic thinking? This video is an invitation to pause, but not a forced pause, like holding your breath and hoping the noise disappears. It's a living pause, a return to what's already here, before the story, before the words, before the search. And as Eckhart Tolle said, true intelligence operates silently. Stillness is where creativity and solutions live. This witnessing awareness, this silent space where everything comes and goes. That's what we're talking about. Not a new concept, but something you already are. Maybe you've just forgotten to notice. To see and understand the difference between quieting the mind and suppressing thoughts. Have you ever tried not to think about something, and suddenly, it's all you can think about? Like the classic, don't think of a pink elephant, and boom, there it is, right in the middle of your Zen mind. That's the first big misunderstanding on the path of spiritual awakening, confusing quieting the mind with repressing thoughts. Repressing thoughts is like pushing down a spring. The harder you press, the more it wants to bounce back. It's tense, exhausting, and often disguised as spiritual discipline. But deep down, it's just another ego trick trying to control the experience. Quieting the mind, on the other hand, is like watching a child throw a tantrum, and not getting pulled into it. You see the thoughts pop up, I should be meditating better. This isn't spiritual, I need to control my mind. But instead of reacting, you just watch. That's the secret behind real thoughtless awareness. It's not about silencing, it's about not feeding. It's not effort. It's allowing. Think about it. Does the sky get bothered by clouds? No. It just is. Thoughts are like those clouds. They come and go. But awareness, awareness is the sky. Always present, always open, silent and vast. Authentic meditation begins here. And techniques like non-directive meditation, for example, teach us not to steer the thoughts, but to sit in the passenger seat and let them pass. That's where true silence emerges, not the one we force, but the one that arises when we stop trying to control everything. As J. Krishnamurti said, the mind can only see clearly when it is still, silent. But how do we reach that stillness? The answer might surprise you, and that's what we're about to explore. Close your eyes for a moment and try to remember that moment when you wake up, but you don't yet know where you are, what day it is, or what you need to do. What exists in that space? There is a living, silent space, a kind of pure presence. It's thoughtless awareness. It's already active, but hasn't yet been filled by the ego's narrative. That moment is precious. It shows us that there's something that comes before thought. Before the word fear, there was already tightness in the chest. Before you thought, I'm anxious, your body was already restless. Do you see it? Awareness is like a blank canvas where all the mind's images are projected. But unlike a movie screen, it's not passive. It's aware of the film, and at any moment, it can realize that none of it is truly it. That recognition is subtle, but it changes everything. This is the space where spiritual intuition is born, that silent wisdom that doesn't come from logic, but from direct knowing. That's why practices like true mindfulness, not the mechanical, checklist kind, but the kind that brings you fully into the now, are so important. They connect you to what lies beyond automatic thinking. Want a simple example? Today, when you go have your coffee, just pause and feel. Smell it, feel the warmth of the cup, notice the silence around you. For a few seconds, just be, without trying to interpret. That kind of presence is the beginning of deep self-knowledge, because you stop knowing things with the mind and start knowing them with your being. That space between one thought and the next. That's where awareness lives. And that's where we're headed. But first, you need to understand, who is thinking when you think? You know that voice that narrates everything you do? The one that says, I need to wash the dishes, but first I should watch that video, but I should be meditating. That voice sounds like you. But is it really? The ego is that inner character who loves a microphone. It narrates, comments, judges, compares. It's like a radio host in your mind, always ready with an opinion, even without understanding much of the game. And the most curious part, it believes it's in control. But what if it's not the player, just the sportscaster? Have you ever found yourself thinking something you didn't even want to think? Ever noticed thoughts showing up without your permission? That happens because automatic thinking is a natural brain function. But who you really are is not the thought. It's the one who notices the thought. This is a powerful shift in spiritual awakening. You are not the content of the mind. You are the observing awareness. As Ramana Maharshi said, the mind is only thoughts. The thought, I, is the root of all other thoughts. The ego, then, is like that boss who self-declares as the leader, but never actually does the real work. It takes credit for the experience and says, I meditated really well today, or I'm making spiritual progress. But the truth is, the ego doesn't awaken. It just gets better at acting spiritual. Real awakening doesn't come from controlling the ego. It comes from realizing it's just a character, useful, necessary in many contexts, but it's not you. When that clicks, something opens up. The narrator keeps talking, but you no longer believe the script so much. And that's when a different kind of silence begins. The kind that's not the absence of sound, but the absence of identification. And that leads us straight into the next reflection. Why can't thought ever truly touch the now? Why is the now inaccessible to thought? Have you ever noticed how thought is always one step behind? Like a narrator trying to describe the sunset, after the sun has already set. It's like thunder. It comes after the lightning. Thought is always memory or projection. Even when it tries to talk about the present moment, it's already describing something that's past. And that's why the now slips away from the mind. This is one of the deepest keys to spiritual awakening. The present moment can't be captured. It can only be lived. And living in the now isn't about thinking about it. It's about being in it. Have you ever been so immersed in something that you forgot time, forgot yourself, forgot the goal? Painting, dancing, listening to music, looking into the eyes of someone you love? That's the flow state, where thought goes quiet because presence takes over. And here comes the paradox. The more you try to understand the now with your mind, the further away you get from it. The more you surrender to the moment, the more it reveals itself. That's why the ego can't enter the now. It needs time to exist. It feeds off the past and projects into the future. And it's this very break from psychological time that makes room for presence. It's not something you do. It's something you allow. Want to experience a glimpse of it right now? For the next 10 seconds, just stop. Notice what's around you. The sound, the light, your breath. But don't judge, don't think, don't label. Just be. What you just touched, that living emptiness, is the now. It doesn't need explanation. It needs surrender. And that surrender leads us to the next essential point. Maybe you're searching for something that was never lost. Have you ever looked for your glasses while they were on top of your head? Or that funny moment when you search for your phone while it's already in your hand? That's probably the most honest metaphor for the spiritual journey. We search for something, awareness, peace, spiritual awakening, as if it were separate from us. But the truth is, it was never absent. We just weren't looking. This is the paradox of the spiritual search. What you're working so hard to find is already here, right now. But the ego doesn't like that answer. It wants a path, a technique, a ladder to climb. Because that way, it stays in control. It gets to play the enlightened seeker. But what if there's nowhere to get to? When the search becomes an obsession, it turns into just another role in the ego's narrative. Another attempt to look better spiritually. And that constant striving often leaves us tired, frustrated, and even further from the real experience of presence. As Muji said, "You are not what you think you are looking for. You are the one who is looking." When you truly allow yourself to stop, not as someone giving up, but as someone surrendering, a silence begins to emerge. And in that silence, you discover there's nothing to achieve. There's only something to recognize. The formless, silent, living awareness that's already here. This isn't giving up. It's liberation. It's when the search ends, and being begins. And with that key, we come to the closing of our reflection. But before we finish, one final invitation. Perhaps the most important point in everything we shared today is this. The awareness you've been looking for is already there, right now, listening to these words with you. No matter how many thoughts pass, how many emotions arise, or how spiritually advanced you feel, that silent presence remains, untouched, just waiting to be recognized. True spiritual awakening isn't an achievement of the ego, but the surrender of the ego to what has always been here. It's not a destination. It's a state of being that's already yours. So when this video ends, I invite you not to jump to the next thing. Just for a few moments, pause. Be still. Don't try to control or seek. Just observe. Breathe. Be. You might be surprised by what happens when you do nothing. And if something inside you recognized this truth, then maybe, just maybe, you're already awake. You just need to remember it more often. If you felt moved by these words, I invite you to take the next step in this journey of self-discovery. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep walking this path of spiritual growth with us. Drop a comment and share your experiences with conscious breathing. How it's been a silent teacher in your own awakening. Let's grow together, not just in the mind, but in the heart. And if you want to go deeper into this process, check out our video. Create your reality. Transform thoughts into power, which will help you understand more about how reality manifests. Peace and light.